Hey guys, what's good, man? I hope you're alright. I just got off of work and I went to go pick up some medication. But I pray y'all are well. And I'm sorry if my scenarios hit a lot of nerves, man. But it's a necessary thing. You need to be thinking about these things. There's this thesis that's basically typically it works out best when you're dealing with conflict resolution, when you're dealing with martial arts, and when you are dealing with psychological behaviors in adults. But basically, this theory is designed to help you with quicker positive reaction time. Your brain is a muscle, and also your heart. You know, when it comes to boxing, for example, if in fact you are a good boxer, it means that you've spent a lot of time in the ring doing things to ensure that the choices that you make when you are in duress are for the positive. When you are trained to deal with people with mental disabilities, you are trained a specific way, not to cause injury, but to protect yourself and them at the same time. When you are trained as a lifeguard, you're trained how to deal with situations in the water for the safety of both parties, which out of the two, your life is primary, because if you don't survive, you can't do anything for them. The same thing is dealing with people who are making bad decisions, or people or situations that are negative. You got to be able to handle it, man. And if you don't hear the types of things like that, and if people don't throw those kinds of things at you, when stuff goes down, you'll get yourself killed. You'll kill somebody. I mean, I know me, and I know me since I was a kid. And I'm blessed because I've seen a lot of nonsense happen growing up. I've heard about a lot of nonsense growing up. So my reaction would not be of the norm because of the fact that I've heard it or seen it or heard about it. You know? As a result, I can think a little bit clearer. Now, there's some stuff that scares me, and there's stuff I'll share that I don't know how I'll react. But I also share it so that in the event that I might think a bad way about something, you all can help me think of it in a different light. And that's that whole thesis of iron sharpens iron, you know. You're better to move off the rough edges that I need to get moved off, and you sharpen me up in areas that I need help to be sharpened in, you know. And I hope that these things are doing that for you. You might not like it, and there's no reason why you should like it, but the fact of the matter is that these things occur in real life. There are situations like this that happen. You know, you watch ID, you watch CSI shows, you watch the evening news, man, and people are nuts. Husbands are nuts. Wives are nuts. And sometimes they're not nuts. It's just situations where we didn't really have the practice in knowing how to handle it. The same way you're supposed to train your kids up, you guys got to train each other up to teach each other how to handle something. Man, I tell you a story that just happened, and I know me. So I gotta be careful with how I react to things. And I thank Yah that he's always putting me into mental situations that cause me to think. Because if he didn't do that, I'd make some stupid decisions. You know? One time, man, when I was a Sunday school teacher, this kid, he was quiet the whole day, wouldn't speak to nobody. He saw me, he grabbed me, and I put my hands up and was like, pause and stuff for a second, and I was like, all right, he could stay with me, okay? Because I tried to let him stay where he was supposed to stay because he wasn't one of my kids in my class, and he refused to. He freaked out. So I brought him with me. Then he spent the day with me. This is the first time this child ever saw me. And the end of class, this guy came to the back. And when the guy came to the back, the child freaked out and he grabbed my leg and he held it as tight as he could. And he started shaking. Like, next thing I could have thought of that he was going to do was like piss himself or something. Like, it was that serious. And I had looked at the guy, like my whole alert system just went off. Like, I looked at him and I was like, don't take another step. I didn't say anything. My eyes said it all. Do not take another step. And he looked at me and realized I was dead serious with him, with my look. And he paused for a minute. And I think he respected the fact that I was protective of the little boy. He probably was like 2 years old, man. So he relaxed for a second, and then he talked to the boy and said, come on, let's go. And the young one went on his own with the guy. But that kind of situation will set me off quick. So I'm glad I got scenarios to help me to know how to deal with protecting them. You know, I don't know what happened that day with that kid. He probably got in trouble at home. You know, I probably look like one of his family members. Who knows what it is? But the fact of the matter is that he sought protection in me. So at that particular time, I can't fail him. I just had a daydream at work. And in a daydream, two things happened. And gotta think about that. In the daydream, one of my cousins grabbed one of his kids and like did some kind of fling type thing. And we got into a fight. And while we were getting into a fight, my uncles tried to interject. And in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to stop because you're interjecting. But something else happened. My wives created a wall that separated me from my cousin in my mind. And when I saw that wall, I was like, whoa. It's easy for me to say move in conversation, but your wives are all in agreement that this can't do anything good for you. What do you now do? You think just because you're the man, you're going to push them out the way? You're going to order them out the way? Are you so angry and need to do response for the salvation and protection of this child that you're going to break all the rules of how to operate, especially with your wives there? And I'm like, scenarios are a necessary thing, especially with what I do for a living. You know, patients come into the office. You never know what's going on. Kid comes into the office with a concussion. They say it's from, I can't assume what's going on. And you never know what to expect when a person has a concussion. They can be off the wall, or they can be non-responsive. Some concussion patients, they'll hear curses all their life and they'll never ever curse. They get that concussion, they yell and scream and cursing. People could be calm as day, never violent. As soon as they get that concussion, they go nuts. You know, people with mental disabilities do the same thing. People who are incontinent. People from the military, PTSD. You know, one of the tests, I have lights blinking and you gotta click it. So what if they go off the wall? I can't just start fighting them. You know, you gotta think about different scenarios to be able to handle situations the correct way. And marriages fail in the U.S. Black people do the best in marriages than most races in the U.S. But the fact of the matter is, divorce still happens in the black community. So how do you get the family to bond together the proper way? Or how do you get things to function the right way? You have talks. Great, that sounds good. But you also have to be able to be in a position where you hear different scenarios before they happen, so that you know when in the event that happens, your muscle response is not reactive. You are going to be more of a analytical operator, you know? First thought in my mind when I thought of that is, if that happens to my grandmother, I'm going to go ballistic. Now, I don't know about anybody else's grandmother, but my grandmother doesn't yell. My grandmother doesn't scream. My grandmother does not threaten. My grandmother doesn't hit. She will go in a corner and she will be quiet. That's my grandmother. So somebody else's grandmother might start cursing, going crazy. Somebody else's grandmother might hit, blah, 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 blah. So the answers that people are going to have is based on their experiences with older women or elderly women. So a guy can't interject in that conversation. But if I change the script, now, after all this happened, guys, how do you handle this? And you can't beat them, you can't kill them, and you can't divorce them. Now I'm provoking thought. You see what I'm saying? Because a man that says, I'm ahead, I make the decisions, and that's it. If he's truly honorable and truly sincere about change, he's going to have to think things through to make sure that when he deals with this, he's able to pick up different ways to handle this situation without being vengeful and operating in malice. It's the same reason why you don't hit kids when you're angry. Because when you hit kids when you're angry, you make bad decisions. When you cook when you're hungry, you make bad decisions. When you fight in anger, somebody can die. So unless you've been trained to fight, it's best that you not even fight. It's best that you not raise your voice unless you can think, because you might say something you may not mean and you don't know what the situation truly is. Love you guys. I enjoy talking to you guys and bringing these things up, and I hope it's not pissing you off too much. I really hope that it's causing us as the black nation, as a black family, to think things through. Okay? Be blessed.